He was just another tired soul in a grocery store line that Tuesday afternoon. The kind of day where everything feels heavy, where bills pile up faster than paychecks. Behind him stood an elderly woman, her basket trembling in weathered hands. You've been there, haven't you? Standing in line, counting every penny, wondering if kindness is something you can still afford when life has taken so much. He had $17 left until payday. Rent was overdue. But something about her reminded him of his grandmother. The way she clutched that basket, the tremor in her hands, the loneliness radiating from her like heat from summer pavement. Please, go ahead of me, he said, gesturing forward. Such simple words, the kind of thing we forget the moment we walk out the door. She looked up with eyes that seemed to see straight through his soul. For a moment, something flickered there. Recognition, or something that would soon change everything. The cashier rang up her items slowly. Bread, soup, the basics of survival we take for granted. He watched her count exact change, fingers moving with practiced precision. What makes us choose kindness in our darkest moments? Is it foolishness, or the last ember of humanity refusing to be extinguished? She turned back before leaving. Thank you, she whispered, then disappeared into the crowd. He paid for his ramen noodles, the diet of the desperate. That night he'd lie awake in his studio apartment 3 days from eviction, wondering if those 2 minutes were worth it. Little did he know those 2 minutes had just rewritten his entire future. Sometimes the smallest acts cast the longest shadows. 3 days later, the eviction notice came exactly as expected. Have you ever held paper that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds? Marcus had tried everything. 17 calls to his landlord. Payment plans that would leave him eating rice for months. You know what it's like to feel invisible to systems controlling your life. To be reduced to a case number. To scream into the void and hear only echoes. The studio wasn't much, but it was his. Where he'd rebuilt after divorce. Where he taught himself coding through free tutorials. Where he learned home isn't about space but hope nurtured within walls. His phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Thompson, this is Henderson Property Management. We've acquired your building. Can you come to our offices tomorrow? What cruel joke was this? He agreed because what choice did he have? When drowning, you grab any hand extended. The downtown building was all glass and steel, security guards who looked through you. He waited in a conference room worth more than his annual income. The door opened. A suited man entered, followed by someone whose presence made Marcus's blood freeze. Walking in, dressed elegantly but with those same knowing eyes, was the elderly woman from the grocery store. Hello again, she said. I believe we need to talk about kindness, Mr. Thompson, about what happens when we choose compassion over convenience. How many times had he replayed that grocery store moment? Now, in this impossible moment, he began understanding that some acts echo in ways we never imagine. My name is Eleanor Chen, she began. I own Henderson Property Management along with 47 other buildings. Last week, I was visiting each property as a tenant would. Do you know what I discovered? Marcus sat frozen. The woman counting change for groceries owned half the city? Reality rewrote itself with every word. We'd become everything I swore we'd never be. Faceless, heartless. I discovered my company had lost its soul. You think you know people by appearances, don't you? But what if everything you see is just another test? I've been doing these visits for 3 months, Eleanor explained. Shopping where my tenants shop, standing in their lines. Hundreds of people. Do you know how many showed genuine kindness? 3. 3 people out of hundreds. The mathematics of human kindness painted stark. You were in building 42. 3 months behind, working 2 jobs, taking coding classes, fighting to build something better while the world crushed you. Yet when you saw an old woman who needed help, you didn't hesitate. She walked to the window. My husband and I started with 1 building. We promised we'd never forget struggling. Somewhere along the way, we broke that promise. She turned back, tears in her eyes. Your kindness wasn't just about letting me go first. It was about seeing me. Do you understand how rare that is? I want to offer you something, not charity, An opportunity. Director of Tenant Relations. Help me rebuild what we've lost. Make Henderson Property Management human again. The leap seemed impossible. From nearly homeless to director, sometimes life pivots on the smallest hinges. I'm not offering you a handout, Eleanor said. Director of Tenant Relations. Someone who understands being on the other side of eviction notices. Someone who can help us remember we're providing homes, not just collecting rent. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Who was he to make decisions affecting thousands? I see doubt, Eleanor observed. Good, but I also see someone who kept learning when life gave every reason to quit. Those coding classes? That's hope in action. You know imposter syndrome, don't you? That voice whispering you don't belong, turning opportunity into terror. 70,000 to start, full benefits, authority to implement real change, to ensure no one else lies awake wondering if tomorrow they'll have a home. 70,000. He'd been surviving on 23,000, choosing between food and electricity. Now someone offered a different life entirely because he'd let an old woman go first. Why me? He asked. Surely you have qualified candidates? Eleanor smiled. Because you have what no degree teaches. Empathy born from experience. You chose kindness when it was a luxury you couldn't afford. The city hummed below them. How many people were one small act away from a completely different life? I'll need to think about it, Marcus said, though he knew he was stalling. Of course. But we have 47 buildings full of people who need someone to see them. Call me by Friday. She handed him a business card that felt like a lifeline. After she left, Marcus sat alone. The same skyline that mocked his struggles now looked like possibility dressed in glass and steel. That night, Marcus walked through his neighborhood with new eyes, every detail precious now that he was leaving. The corner store where Mr. Kim gave credit. The laundromat where mothers juggled babies and minimum wage. These weren't just places, but chapters closing. Could he really leave? Transform overnight from tenant to someone affecting lives? Why should he escape when others remain trapped? You understand survivor's guilt, don't you? That voice saying you're betraying your roots by accepting help. His phone buzzed. A text from his ex-wife. Heard you caught a break. You deserve good things, Marcus. He climbed 5 flights one last time. Each step echoed with memory. Inside, he sat on the floor. Furniture sold weeks ago. Coding books stacked in corners. Building futures bite by bite. The eviction notice lay on the counter. In 3 days, everything would change. Just not how anyone predicted. He thought about Eleanor's offer. 70,000. Benefits. Authority. It sounded like fiction. One day everything will change. Except now one day had arrived. What scared him wasn't the job but responsibility. Thousands of tenants like him fighting invisible battles. Could he bridge corporate needs and human ones? Mr. Kim called. Marcus, I heard you're leaving. Did something good finally happen? Yeah, Mr. Kim, something good. But I'm not going far. Just changing positions in the game. You remember us when wearing fancy suits. Remember we're not numbers. We're people. Outside, city lights twinkled like ground-level stars. Each light a life-deserving dignity. Marcus pulled out Eleanor's card. Tomorrow he'd call. Tomorrow he'd say yes. Not because he was ready, but because sometimes the most important work is done by those who remember what it feels like to need help. The call lasted 3 minutes. Yes, I'll take the position. Simple words rearranging his existence. That weekend, Marcus stood in his future building's lobby. The security guard, William, had let him in. Ms. Chen said you might come. Said you'd want to see it quiet. You know that vertigo of standing at the threshold of a new life? Your same hands feeling different when about to do different work? Been here 27 years, William shared. Most directors never learn our names, see uniforms, not people. Ms. Chen's different. Knows my grandkids' names. They rode to the executive floor. Marcus's future office waited. Floor to ceiling. Windows. A desk worth more than his previous annual salary. This company lost its way, William said. Got too corporate. Forgot every lease has a heartbeat. Ms. Chen's been looking for someone who gets it. Marcus touched the glass, thinking of times he'd looked up from street level, wondering what decisions were being made about his life. Her husband died 2 years ago. He was the heart while she was the brain. When he went, she lost her way, started seeing spreadsheets instead of souls. The grocery store test gained new meaning. She wasn't just evaluating kindness, but searching for something lost. That day you met her, she came back different. Said she'd found what she was looking, freakier. Monday arrived, dressed in rain and anxiety. Marcus wore his only suit from Goodwill. Same bus route, but different perspective. The invisible riders sharing space without stories. Downtown approached like another country. Henderson Property Management occupied floors 45-50. The elevator ascended to different atmosphere. Eleanor waited with 6 executives. Faces ranged from curious to skeptical. His second-hand suit screamed its origins. This is Marcus Thompson, our new director of tenant relations. He brings lived experience. He understands tenants because he is one. A woman with hard eyes spoke first. What are Mr. Thompson's qualifications beyond experience? The question hung like a blade. But Marcus remembered every person counting change. You're right. I don't have an MBA. But I know eviction notices. I know choosing between medication and meals. I know the names behind your spreadsheets. He stood, surprising himself. Last week I was 3 days from homelessness. This week I'm here. That journey is about understanding everyone in our buildings is one paycheck, one illness, one act of kindness away from different lives. You want qualifications? Marcus continued in the boardroom. I've taught myself coding while working, 60 hours, mediated disputes between neighbors, translated eviction notices for immigrants too proud to admit they couldn't read them. His voice grew stronger. I've been your tenant, the one whose calls don't get returned. I know exactly where policies fail because I've lived in those gaps. What would you change first? An older man asked. Communication. Right now, tenants scream into voids. Every unanswered call confirms they don't matter. I'd implement 24-hour response guarantee. Not resolution, but acknowledgement. That's expensive, someone muttered. So is turnover. So are lawsuits. But more than that. Marcus met each pair of eyes. So is forgetting our business depends on human beings choosing to make homes in our buildings. As the room emptied, the skeptical woman lingered. I'm Sarah Chen, CFO, and Eleanor's daughter. The revelation landed hard. Of course there were layers Marcus hadn't seen. I fought against your hiring, Sarah continued. Thought it was another of Mom's gestures, but maybe you're exactly what we need. The first month passed in revelations. Henderson Property Management was a machine maximizing efficiency at humanity's cost. Response times measured, quality wasn't. Occupancy tracked obsessively, satisfaction an afterthought. His office became a confession booth. Stories poured in. Maria's daughter's asthma from unaddressed mold. Jerome, the veteran whose PTSD complaints were dismissed as personality conflicts. You know institutional indifference, don't you? Not active cruelty, but passive blindness. Systems designed by people who never need them. Marcus documented everything in human terms. Each story reminding that behind every lease was a life. Sarah challenged his proposals with spreadsheets. 24-hour response requires 17 additional staff, $850,000 annually. Where's the ROI? The ROI is tenants who don't move out, who don't sue, who build communities instead of just surviving. So he learned her language, discovered their highest-earning buildings weren't luxury units but those with lowest turnover. Stability was profitable. Humanity had positive ROI. Marcus presented his findings to the board. Building 23 has 94% retention, lowest turnover. Why? The manager, Mrs. Patterson, knows every tenant's name, hosts monthly potlucks. Her salary equals managers with 40% turnover. These numbers don't indicate scalability. Richard Stern interrupted. You're right, she's irreplaceable. But that means we hire and train for humanity, not just efficiency. He showed testimonials. Real voices. Maria on community support during cancer. Jerome crediting neighbors with preventing suicide. Not just stories, but retention guarantees. Eleanor stood. When my husband and I started, we had one principle. Treat tenants how we'd want to be treated. We grew. We forgot. She walked to the window. Thomas died and I lost my way. Started seeing numbers instead of names. The grocery store test was about finding myself. Marcus reminded me. What are you proposing? Barbara Klein asked. Full implementation of community-focused management, investment in managers like Mrs. Patterson, tenant advisory boards, 24-hour response systems. The cost? $2.3 million year one, Sarah answered, offset by $3.7 million in reduced turnover, $1.2 million in maintenance efficiency, ROI positive by month 8. You're gambling millions on feelings, Richard said. No, Marcus replied. I'm investing in the truth that our business depends on people choosing to make our buildings homes. David Martinez spoke unexpectedly. My daughter lives in Building 12. Last month she received an eviction notice for being 2 weeks late. No call. Just red paper making her feel worthless. When did we become the company that makes people cry? The vote was closer than hoped, but decisive. 11 for, 6 against. Building 23's miracle would be attempted everywhere. That night, Marcus returned to Building 23. Mrs. Patterson hosted dinner for anyone needing food or company. He sat with residents who saw him only as someone sharing their meal. Heard corporates making changes, Mr. Chen said. Trying to be more human. Probably. Won't last. Maybe it will, Marcus said. Maybe kindness is contagious, maybe seeing people clearly is a skill we can teach. The work would be hard, but in this room Marcus saw what was possible. The revolution had begun, one building at a time, one small act rippling outward until it changed everything. Building 23 stood as testament to what was possible. Sarah Chen walked beside Marcus through the lobby. Mrs. Patterson waited, a woman whose smile could power the block. So you're Eleanor's daughter, Mrs. Patterson said. Same eyes, same way of really looking when people talk. Sarah shifted uncomfortably. When had she stopped really looking? Marcus says you have the highest retention rate. We have. This building is community. Come, let me show you what numbers can't capture. They climbed stairs, second floor, doors open, neighbors helping new arrivals. The Johnsons lost their place to gentrification. Martinez families helping them settle. They know what starting over means. You see how community forms from shared understanding? How stability creates connections no corporate team building could manufacture? Third floor, children's artwork, decorated hallways. Against regulations, Sarah noted, then caught herself. Yes, but these pictures make it theirs. Make them care. Worth more than pristine walls. In the community room, high schoolers tutored elementary kids. Building 23 has the highest graduation rate, Marcus added. No program, just neighbors helping. Neighbors? Sarah pulled out her tablet, calculating. Empty units, marketing, turnover. The numbers told different stories now. What made your mother start that grocery store test? Mrs. Patterson asked. Sarah's armor cracked. Father died. He said buildings were boxes until people made them homes. After he went, Mom lost sight. Started seeing through grief and growth. Metrics. 5th floor. Mrs. Rodriguez opened before they knocked. You're the money lady? The one who decides if we can afford being human? The directness made Sarah flinch, but Mrs. Rodriguez smiled. Good. We need someone understanding money, and that some things can't be counted. The apartment was small but immaculate. Photos covered walls, not just family but neighbors. This is our asset, this connection, knowing someone notices if you don't get mail. How long have you lived here? 12 years, raised children after. Their father left. Mrs. Patterson helped with food stamps, neighbors babysat. This is why I'll never leave unless you make me. Back in the lobby, Mrs. Patterson showed her worn notebook. Every tenant, their stories, struggles, victories. Guyans had their first grandchild. Jimmy got into college. Ms. Carter's in remission. This is what I manage. Lives. Sarah flipped through pages of careful handwriting, a ledger of humanity tracking deposits and withdrawals of care. What would you need to replicate this? Sarah asked suddenly. Time. Permission prioritizing people over paperwork. Managers who see this as more than jobs. And trust, not pilot. Full implementation, Sarah interrupted. All 47 buildings. Mrs. Patterson, would you lead training? The shift was seismic. Sarah proposing to spend money on something unquantifiable. Why? Mrs. Patterson asked. Sarah closed her tablet. Because Father would have loved you. Because Mother found you in that grocery store. Because Marcus is right, we've been managing properties when we should nurture communities. 3 months later, transformation was messy and beautiful. Some managers embraced changes. Others saw corporate interference. Tenants waited to see if this was real. Building 15 was the test. Highest crime, most evictions, deepest distrust. The new manager, James Washington, was a former tenant who understood survival inside out. They don't trust us, James reported. We've been the enemy. Notices, cops, zero tolerance. Now we talk community? They're waiting for the catch. Then, we prove it, Marcus said. Not words but actions, every day, until trust becomes possible. Sarah had become unexpected ally, finding money in hoarded bonuses. Reduce C-suite compensation 15%. Fund community programs 2 years. Changes came slowly, then suddenly. Building 15's community garden. Building 32's childcare co-op. Each success documented with names, not just numbers, but it wasn't all victories. Some managers couldn't adapt. Some tenants tried exploiting new policies. Balance between compassion and boundaries was delicate. Some days I wonder if we're naive, Marcus confessed to Eleanor. She smiled. Thomas said the same. When we gave families extra time. Fix things beyond responsibility. Naive? Maybe. But what's the alternative? Marcus learned to navigate complexities, see patterns without losing individuals. His suits gave way to jeans. Office hours became whenever someone needed him. You'll burn out, Sarah warned, reviewing building. 40's transformation. 50% vacancy to waitlist in 4 months. Maybe. But look. He showed testimonials. Single mother able to work. Veteran finding purpose teaching self-defense. How do you burn out seeing this? Sarah's own transformation was profound, visiting buildings for dinners, not inspections, learning names, letting corporate armor rust. Therapist says I'm compensating for guilt, for reducing people to numbers. What do you think? Guilt's just the beginning. Real work comes after, when you stop apologizing and start changing. James, Washington entered. Building 15 just had first month with 0 evictions. In 5 years, never happened. Tenants pooled money to help Mrs. Williams catch up, said they couldn't lose their best cook. This was the revolution, not top-down charity, but horizontal community. People saving each other because the system finally allowed it. What's next? James asked. We scale it, Marcus said. Document everything. Share the model. Prove treating people with dignity isn't just morally right. It's the only sustainable way. Outside in 47 buildings, something different was happening. People looking out for each other. Managers preventing crises. The invisible being seen. And somewhere, someone was letting an elderly person go ahead in line. Not knowing it mattered. Not knowing kindness could neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. 1 year later, Marcus stood in the same grocery store. Not shopping, but visiting. A pilgrimage site reminding how small moments reshape worlds. Henderson Property Management had become a case study. The model spreading. But real victory was in lives with room to breathe. Building 15 thrived. 0 evictions. Became self-regulating community. Sarah had proposed eliminating her CFO position for Chief Community Officer. Eleanor spent time in public spaces. Her tests evolved from evaluation to meditation. The real changes were quieter. Mrs. Rodriguez's granddaughter in college. Guyon's opened a restaurant. Jerome counseling veterans. Success measured in peaceful, sleep, safe play spaces, communities catching those who fall. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown tenant. Thank you for seeing us, for remembering we're human. My family has hope again. These came daily, from people who'd never know about the grocery store moment, how their improved lives traced back to choosing kindness when costly. We're thinking of expanding, Sarah mentioned. Buying distressed properties, implementing our model from day one. What does Eleanor think? She asks only, will it help people feel seen? That was everything's heart. Not policies, but seeing people clearly. Recognizing everyone fought invisible battles. Everyone deserved dignity, especially when they couldn't afford it. At Building 12, a barbecue was underway. Marcus joined the line, just another neighbor. Nobody knew he was director. Here he was just Marcus, who almost lost everything and understood. Heard from my cousin in Detroit, someone said. Their building's trying similar community programs. Says it's spreading like something needed to happen. It was spreading. The radical idea business could have conscience. That profit and people were dance partners. That small acts of recognition could transform systems. As sun set over the city, Marcus thought about the journey, from desperate Tuesday to quiet victory, from counting change to changing lives, from invisible to helping others be seen, but mostly about tomorrow, the next person needing to be seen, the next company ready to remember humanity, the next small act rippling outward unpredictably. The revolution wasn't complete. There'd always be someone counting change, someone's dignity hanging by unnoticed threads, opportunities choosing kindness when it seemed foolish. His phone rang. Another crisis, another chance proving transformation possible. Tell me what's happening, he said. Tell me who needs to be seen. Somewhere in the city, someone was discovering. The universe had been watching. Their kindness about to return multiplied. Everything about to change between next and please go ahead. The story never ends. Just begins again, with each choice to see clearly. Each decision valuing people over policies. Each moment remembering we're one kindness away from different lives. In Henderson Property Management's lobby hung Eleanor's portrait. Not formal, but security footage. Elderly woman counting change. Below, a plaque. Everyone you meet is fighting. A battle you know nothing about. Be kind. Always. Marcus lived those words daily, and the universe, always watching, prepared the next test, the next opportunity, the next moment when kindness would change everything. Because that's how the world transforms. One person at a time, one line at a time, one please go ahead at a time. Until suddenly we've built something beautiful together, something that started in the simplest place with seeing each other clearly and choosing to care. Like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. This channel is for those who believe in the power of small acts to change lives.